Hello crafting friends, my name is Barbara Radzevicius and I'm Bondi Crafter. In this week's episode I'll be showing how to make Jacob's ladder block into a quilt top and how to make very simple rectangles into quilt tops, small quilt tops, and very useful quilts. They turn out really lovely. The bigger rectangles are very handy for showcasing those special fabrics. And yeah, I hope you find it interesting how that I piece quilts. And yeah, so if you like my content, please like and subscribe, and it'd be great. Okay, let's get into it. These are the 8 blocks set out how I want them. They are layered. There's 8 different ones there, and I'm going to start with the top 2 and go down, and then this side. But first of all, I'm going to do the whole 8 on this side. Okay, so I'm nearly at the end. So string piecing. It's important to match up all the seams so that you get a nice crisp block, and make sure the facings are all, seam allowances are all facing the way you want them to go. I'll just take this one off and show you what I've just done. And so all the blocks are at this point except for the last 2. So I'm speeding along. I hope to have these done by another 10 minutes. So today I'm up early and it's Sunday, and I'm planning to sew together these Jacob ladder blocks that I made recently. I'll show you how I stack them ready to sew. So I'm going to also sew these in a production line like I do the small squares. So we'll start up here. I'm left-handed also, so we'll start in the top left corner, and they are in a pile with the top row on top. Then the next row, the middle row, two rows, last row, now I have them set out ready to sew, and I'll start with these 2. Set them out like that, and I'll start here. I'm ready to sew. I'm going to join the blocks horizontally first. It's very easy to piece. I'll just move the camera a little bit. So I've set up the top left-hand corner on the bottom and the center top on top of it, and very carefully holding the bottom edge together so that if it needs a slight tug to get them both the same matching, it's easy to do. So I'm careful to have the pressed lines of the seams going in the direction that they're pressed. It makes it so much easier when the whole top is finished. That's the first two. So this is the middle squares. And I'm chain piecing. Just makes it easier when the whole thing, the whole 9 blocks are put together. And you just have to do the vertical lines and the horizontal lines, sorry, and yeah, quilt is done. So I'll catch up with you when I've connected the vertical lines. I finished doing the vertical lines. Show you how it looks. So you can see I have connected all the vertical lines. This makes it so much easier now to do the horizontals. And this will only take me a couple of minutes. So it's a very fast little quilt top. I know piecing quilts by machine is a very fast process, but really making a quilt is a very slow process, and it's a very, very comfortable and relaxing thing to do. I mean, after it's machine quilted, machine pieced, I can machine quilt it, and it does go together quickly. But the whole thing about quilt making is not to have a fast, yeah, I know it sounds contradictory, but you know, it is a very, I love it. I just love quilt making. And it doesn't have to be fast. I've just got all the components ready to go, and I'm so happy, you know, that I can just join them together, and it is fast for me. So not fast for everybody, but once you get your components sewn together, like the squares and the triangles and all cut out and everything for a small quilt, you're right to go. And the end results is just lovely. So it can either be fast or slow, or can be chugging along like I do. As you know, I cut the pieces first, and I had them all cut out. And to do that took me a fair while. And, you know, I just, mainly from little pieces, because I only buy small pieces of fabric, or Judith gives me small pieces of fabric, and I make scrappy quilts. And the process begins with cutting out the squares and the triangles, and then the next process is choosing the colours to go together with each other, what you want as a neutral colour, then piecing them together. So piecing them together is, I like to have chunks of time to do each part of the process. So I have a certain amount of time for cutting. First I have to buy the fabrics or collect the fabrics. Then I have to cut out the squares and triangles, and I have to sew them together, and that takes, you know, could take a week. not a whole solid week, but you know what I mean, a few hours, and then I have to piece the blocks together, and that takes me, I think it was 2 hours to sew 9 blocks together. And today I'm piecing together the blocks into a quilt top, a small quilt top. So altogether, to make a small quilt would take, I would say, solidly a week. A week if you just have a morning of piecing and then putting the batting, pinning the batting together with the back, sewing the top, machine quilting. I'm going to machine quilt this one at Judith's on Friday, hopefully, or maybe next week. I have had a quilt, my last one, it was at Judith's for a whole year waiting to be quilted, so this is not fast, and I am not fast, and I'm just starting to feel well, so I thought, while I'm feeling well, I am going to chug along at full speed. Full speed for me is only a couple of hours, because after that I know I'm going to clag out and the muscles will say, it is time to stop. And they'll probably say stop the next day too. But because I love it so much, you know, I can't stop altogether, so just keep going. So I will shortly have this top pieced. I'm not going to have a border on it, I don't think. I think I'll just do the binding. And that makes a nice baby quilt. I am short on baby quilts. I have gifted a lot, and I have made a few that are just a bit bigger for lap quilts, and I have gifted those too. And so half of my quilt making is quilts for myself, which are bigger. I do have a few small quilts I really just love, like the K Facet red quilt. It's like only 36, I'd say, or maybe 40-inch square. But you know, it doesn't matter what size you make them, they're just beautiful, aren't they? And so yeah, so I really do love this particular block, Jacob's Ladder. As I've said before, I love the philosophy behind the name of the block, about Jacob dreaming in the desert and the ladder going to heaven and the angels coming up and down with messages. And I think people are sometimes the messengers too, and we get messages that we don't expect, or they come at an unexpected time, and it depends on us whether we act on those messages or not, doesn't it? And so yeah, I just love the philosophy behind it, and I also love the block, and I love the scrappy fabrics, and I love how all the colours go together. And I hope you will try and try a lot Jacob's Ladder quilt too. If not, you know, there are so many other quilts and so many beautiful fabrics out there, and quilt making is just so many possibilities. So I'll get on with this now, and I'll show you the finished piece top, and then we might choose a back for it. I do like choosing the backs that are the same width of fabric, so we don't have to have joints, especially on the little quilts. And I'll get out the scrap batting also. I have big pieces of batting left over, and I keep them especially for small quilts. So I'll keep you posted. All the blocks are joined, and I now have a quilt top. I'll lay it out on the floor so we can see it flat. There we are. It's a nice little quilt. Love how all the colours just go together. I think a scrappy quilt, you know, the colours just all go together. Doesn't matter what you do, really, in the end. Just mix all the colours, and as long as you have a neutral, I think everything works. So the next step is to put the batting and find a back for this little quilt. But before I do that, I'm going to sew together some rectangles. Not for this quilt, but I'm hoping to make 3 small tops also, so that I have a nice little batch of quilts to machine quilt. I can machine quilt 2 of these little quilts in just about 2.5 hours of machine quilting. Judith says I have pedal to the metal. I think that's the saying. And yeah, just go flat out quilting. It's just so nice. So yeah, that's my whole piece quilt for today. I made sure not to cut the bird, parts of the bird off when I cut it out. So I needed a very good 1/4 inch, generous 1/4 inch seam allowance around the bird. And I would suggest that for any parts of birds or people that you really want to keep so that you know that it's a bird or whatever. Yeah. So yeah. So these are the rectangles that I cut out, oh, must be about 2 months ago in a previous episode, and they are all ready to go. So I have 4 small quilts, I think, ready to go, but I'll probably mix and match the rectangles. This is the one that I've chosen to go with first. Judith gave me this beautiful fabric with the vines on it. And I think all these colours go together nicely to make, I'm going to make a lap size quilt. So it will be 4 down and 5 across. And the rectangles are 10.5 inches by 6.5 inches cut with a seam allowance. These are the rectangles that I've decided to make this top with. As you can see, I didn't have enough of some of the prints, so that's the good thing about an all over patchwork top. You can just mix and match. So I have added, you can see where the pattern is. Really like the colours in this one. I think the pinks and the greens go really nicely together. I decided to go with a 6 by 4, 6 across the top and 4 down instead of 5. I think this makes a nice size lap quilt. And the finished size will be about 60 by 60 inches square. And I might add a border to this also, so probably about 65 when I finish, 65-inch square. I think that's a nice size. I find a lovely floral back for this one. Yeah. I wish I had just a little bit more of the pink. I was going to make a skirt out of that pink fabric. And then I decided, oh, it might be a bit too patterny for a skirt to wear for me. So I cut it into rectangles. I might go and have a look and see if I can find one more little piece just to go in that corner, just to finish off that row. But if I can't, this is how it's going to stay. I will also do my string piecing of them, so I will start on the left-hand corner there and stack them with the top left on top, just going down. Do that all the way along, and then load them onto my plastic ruler and just sew them together. So sew them horizontally and then vertically. No, vertically then horizontally. You can tell I'm left-handed because sometimes when I'm driving also, I get my left and right hand mixed up and we go the wrong direction. Or John says, I think we need to go this other way. But yeah, that's how it is. So we're going to do vertically first, then horizontally. And I think that might do me for the morning then, because I'm getting sort of puffed down. I've been doing it for 2 hours now. It's now 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. and you can see my hands getting a little shaky. So I'll machine piece these together, and then there's another pile waiting for me. But I have till Thursday at home alone, and so I can pace myself, do anything I like, really. So fun. Just a note before I start to sew, this is how I load them up. So you can see my ruler underneath, and I've started on the right hand side with the rectangles, and then I just overlap them by about half so that I can grab them easily and they don't get mixed up. And so that is a whole quilt ready to go, stacked on my ruler. So I'll just start over here with this and this and keep going. So I'll do all of these first, then add this one, this one, this one, and finally this one. And it makes the process so much easier if you can lay the quilt out like this, ready to sew, I think. What are your thoughts on this? How do you lay your quilt out? Are you ready to make this type of quilt? This is I would say a quilt that showcases bigger prints, and you can have a whole selection of beautiful prints. I especially like the hummingbirds. I think the colours are beautiful, but all the colours are lovely. And this print is called The Weather Forecast. How perfect is that? The rectangles are all sewn together in this one. I like the size. I think it's lovely. I might make it a bit wider with the borders, so I think it'll be a lovely size. The colours are just really nice in it too, and I think somebody will really like this. These are my gift quilts. I'm so lucky to be able to actually make something that somebody would like. As the cash is pretty strapped, and the only thing there is to make beautiful things. Yeah, that's how it goes. This is the third top that I've pieced today. I had it. I can't do any more. I thought I would get 4 done, but I could only get 3, and that's piecing. I haven't done anything to the blocks other than just join them all together. So I've got 3 tops ready to go. This is the last one. I think it is beautiful. I tried other colours to replace the red, the bright red, but that didn't work. So I just left them in, and I think it looks okay. So I'll go with that, and I love the birds too. That's it for this episode, friends. I have now 3 beautiful quilt tops. I think they're lovely, and I hope you enjoyed me stitching away on a Sunday. Thanks, friends. Bye.